On April 15, 1912, the unsinkable ship sank in 2 hours and 40 minutes. 1,517 people died. The reasons why are darker than the movie ever showed. As you consider the tragedy, ask yourself, what could have prevented such a catastrophic loss of life on a ship that was touted as the epitome of luxury and safety, like the RMS Titanic, which was built at the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, Ireland, over a period of 26 months, from March 1909 to May 1911. The Titanic was the largest ship in the world at the time, measuring 882 feet 9 inches in length, and 92 feet 6 inches in width, with a gross tonnage of 46,328 tons, and a top speed of 21 knots. On its maiden voyage, which began on April 10, 1912, from Southampton, England, the Titanic carried 2,224 people, including 330 first-class passengers, such as millionaires John Jacob Astor and Benjamin Guggenheim, and 705 third-class passengers, like Margaret Brown, who would later become known as the unsinkable Molly Brown. As the ship set sail, you might wonder, what role did the ship's massive size and complex social hierarchy play in the events that unfolded, given that the Titanic had a crew of 885 people, led by Captain Edward John Smith, who had previously commanded the RMS Olympic, the Titanic's sister ship. On the night of April 14, 1912, the Titanic received several iceberg warnings, including one from the SS Californian, which was stopped for the night due to heavy ice, and another from the SS Mesaba, which reported heavy ice ahead, but these warnings were ignored by the bridge crew, led by First Officer William Murdoch, who was in charge of navigating the ship through the treacherous waters of the North Atlantic. At 11:40 p.m., the Titanic struck an iceberg on its starboard side, which caused significant damage to the ship's hull, and led to the flooding of its compartments, but the crew did not realize the extent of the damage, and it was not until 12 a.m. on April 15, 1912, that the ship's lookouts, Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee, reported that the ship was sinking. As the crew struggled to respond to the emergency, you might ask, how did the lack of binoculars, which were locked in a cabinet, and the fact that the ship's watertight compartments were not designed to handle the amount of water that was pouring in, contribute to the disaster, given that the Titanic had a double-bottom hull, and 16 watertight compartments, which were supposed to keep the ship afloat even if 4 of them were flooded. The crew launched the lifeboats, but they were not filled to capacity, with some boats having as few as 28 people on board, despite having a capacity of 65, and the class-based survival rates were stark, with 60% of first-class passengers surviving, compared to only 24% of third-class passengers, such as the 119 children who were traveling in third class, of whom only 53 survived. As the night wore on, the crew's decisions, such as the one to launch the lifeboats on the starboard side first, and the fact that the ship's band played music on the boat deck until 1:30 a.m., seemed to prioritize the safety of the ship's most affluent passengers, leaving you to wonder, what would have happened if the crew had prioritized the evacuation of all passengers, regardless of class, given that the Titanic had a total of 20 lifeboats, which could have accommodated up to 1,178 people. The sinking of the Titanic had a profound impact on maritime safety regulations, leading to the implementation of a system of wireless telegraphy for emergency communication, and the establishment of the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, which was signed on January 20, 1914, by 12 countries, including the United States, the United Kingdom, and Germany, and has since been adopted by over 150 countries, with the aim of preventing such disasters from happening again. As you consider the legacy of the Titanic, ask yourself, how has the tragedy influenced the development of safety protocols and regulations in the shipping industry, given that the Titanic disaster led to the creation of the International Ice Patrol, which was established in 1913 to monitor icebergs in the North Atlantic, and has since been responsible for the safe passage of thousands of ships through the treacherous waters of the North Atlantic? The story of the Titanic serves as a reminder of the importance of prioritizing safety and human life, and the dangers of hubris and complacency, as the tragedy was not just a result of the ship's collision with the iceberg, but also of the complex social and cultural factors that contributed to the disaster, leaving you to ponder, what can we learn from the Titanic's tragic fate, as we continue to push the boundaries of human innovation and exploration, given that the Titanic's sinking was a major news event, with newspapers around the world reporting on the disaster, and the subsequent investigations and inquiries, which led to significant changes in maritime safety regulations, and have had a lasting impact on the way we think about safety and risk.